A man of my years has learned that I think every life tells a story. Some more than others, but basically I think every person lives with a philosophy that you can sense. Sometimes in their words, usually in their actions though, how they live their life, things they're concerned about, that sort of thing. And the life of Wanda Sandusky Schnell is one such life. She was my mother. She died a couple years ago. And one might be tempted to think that when somebody dies, that after 5 or 10 years, we start to forget about them. And that could be true to a degree, but where I'm going with this is that what they stood for, I think, resonates in the people who were around them and who spent time with them. That, again, every life has a story to it, and that it impacts us, be it for good or be it for bad. But I would say in the life of my mother, that if I needed a title for her book, her story, it would be Don't Take No for an Answer, with a subtitle of, on some days, Don't Even Take Yes for an Answer. Meaning that Mom she could be fairly combative, pretty direct, and just like to push the envelope with people, just to kind of feel them out a little bit. But anyway, that was Mother's signature approach. But I can think of a couple themes that kind of were common in her behaviors as far as things she cared about and how she approached issues. One of the themes, I would say, one of the lessons, I would say, was that the idea that you should always stand your ground. Don't be pushed around. If you're right, you're right. Don't apologize if you're right, and don't let anybody tell you you're wrong if you're right. And she really didn't convey that to us. There were 4 kids in the family and our father. So much in words, but it was typically through her actions. That is, she just wouldn't tell you that. She would do it. And she did it with great zeal. I'm 62. When I was born in 1955, growing up in Gahanna, compared to today, there wasn't that much action going on. We had a good time, but we kind of made our own fun in low-key kinds of ways. During the summer, we might, Little League baseball, go fishing, something like that. Went swimming a lot. But other than that, I'd say church camp for a week was huge. That was probably the high point. We would go, our family would go to Lake Erie for a week. That was a big deal. Then there'd be little blimps on the screen, and one of them that would pop up each year, usually on a hot weekend in July, is when the carnival would come to town. And without much notice, the carnival would come to town on a Friday. These big trucks that said Nolan Shows on it. On the sides of the trucks would pull into the VFW parking lot. And they would set up their rides and their games. It was the traveling circus, but they would set up their stuff in this lot, vacant lot out in front of the VFW. And we had quite a production out there. It'd start Friday night, go into Saturday, all day Saturday, and then early afternoon on Sunday, and then early Sunday they would stop and pack things up the next day. And Monday morning was pack up and head out day. Anyway, they would load things up, and it would be vacant. But anyway, on one such Monday morning when the carnival was leaving, my mom went over to get her hair done at Aunt Irene's beauty shop, and she had, as I remember it, Bill and Betsy and I along, and I would have been about 8, Bill would have been about 10, Betsy would have been about 4 or 5. Anyway, we had a new convertible Impala, Chevrolet Impala, blue with a white top. Anyway, we got down over to Aunt Irene's, and we live in Gahanna, Ohio, and on James Road. There's this road that turns off of James Road to go back to the Gehenna Pool. It's called River Road. And you take River Road down to the Gehenna Pool, but then if you don't turn into the Gehenna Pool, it goes around to the left, ultimately a horseshoe that comes back out on James Road, and it's one way. Anyway, Mom got her hair done, and we were playing around out in the yard, that kind of stuff, while she's getting her hair done. But when she came back out, we get in the car, and I remember the car seats were always hot and tops down. Car seat, seats are hot. We're in there kind of bouncing around trying to get used to these hot seats. But anyway, as we pull out on this one-way road from Aunt Irene's, and I should say Aunt Irene's beauty shop, it was her house. And in her basement, she had some chairs set up down there, and she, as they say, did hair in her basement. It wasn't a beauty shop like you'd think of Charles Penzone's or something along that line. But anyway, we go out in the car, and we're driving. Mom's just backed out onto River Road, and we're getting ready to drive east towards the Gehenna Pool. And there's this big truck with a big load on the back coming up River Road on the wrong way on this one-way road. And there's just one lane. There's just one lane, room for one car to get through, let alone a truck. Anyway, this guy is going pretty slow, and he's hauling the Ferris wheel. You could see it was the Ferris wheel, only it was packed up, but you could see the carts, you sit in, those bench seats, that kind of stuff. And he's hauling the Ferris wheel. Anyway, he's coming up, and he's going pretty slow, but he's moving. And anyway, we're just there. There's nowhere to go. And he says, anyway, as he pulls up, had he just said, excuse me, ma'am, I'm sorry. I'm going the wrong way. I understand that, but I'm pulling the Ferris wheel, and I appreciate it if you'd back up into that driveway so I could get by. Well, Mom would have done that in a minute. She would have been fine with that. I mean, she would have cooked the man a casserole, made him a ham sandwich, and sent him on his way. But he used a different approach that might work with some people, but not with Wanda. What he did, and I'll spare you the degree of vulgarity in quoting the man, but it was pretty raw and pretty loud and pretty forceful. Most people would have frightened, but not Mom. He calls out the window, sticks his head out, and, "Hey, lady, move your car. I got to get out of here. You're in the way. Move it." Well, Mom sat up, took off her Ray-Ban glasses, these dark rimmed glasses, looked like something Fidel Castro would wear. Kind of chews on the earpiece there a minute and said, "Excuse me?" And he says, "Yeah, that's damn straight, excuse you. Move your goddamn car. I got to get out of here, and you're in the way." Again, the language was further out on the limb than I'm quoting, but it's in that sense. Pretty rude around children especially, let alone a woman. But in that time frame. Anyway, Mom just kind of looks at him a minute and says, "Hey, pal, you may be needing to be on your way, but I got kids here who need to get home for lunch." And he said, "Yeah, I'd like to have lunch too. I got to be down to Canal Winchester by 12 o'clock. Now move the car." Mom goes, "Can you read?" "You're damn straight I can read. I'm going to read you the riot act if you don't get the car out of the way." Well, right beside us is this sign. And she says, "How about reading this sign to me, if you can read?" Well, he looks over and he goes, "I don't care what it says." And he goes on. She said, "Well, I'm not moving. I'm from here. I know the chief of police, and I'm not moving. You back your vehicle up." And he's yelling, they're going back and forth. And she goes back to this, "Read that sign to me." So finally he goes meekly, "One way." It's going our way. It's one way, arrow pointing our direction. So she goes, "I'm not backing up." She goes, "You back up." He goes, "I'm hauling the Ferris wheel." Doesn't matter. And that guy, she stared him down. And me, by the way, as this is going on, I can see on the floorboards of his car is a big crowbar. And I'm thinking he's going to get out and smash our car and smash us, smash our brains across our 1963 Impala Chevrolet. And, but by the way, it probably wouldn't have mattered had he done, bashed our car in. Our brains would be a different matter, but the car, he probably could have done some damage there, and it wouldn't have been that big of a deal, because Bill eventually, later on, totaled that car in an accident. Not too far, come to think of it. It wasn't too far from the point where we were having this argument with this carnival worker. Now, Bill had been going out on Old Johnstown Road one night, had a date. He had doubled, that's right. And he was over by, as he told my dad, Hank Newman's Pizza Palace, which he was. It's over there. It used to be over there by Old Johnstown Road and Stelzer Road. But what he didn't mention was right across the street from Hank Newman's Pizza Palace was the Purple Onion Lounge, a go-go, couch dancers on Saturday. He's kind of doing that one-arm glide thing. But you know what? We'll save that. We'll save that for Bill's funeral, which may happen sooner or later. Because I remember nobody in that car was named Nancy, his wife of long standing. But this is a whole different story. We'll save that. Again, we'll save that for Bill's funeral. But anyway, the guy backed up. She stared him down. It was quite a show. He backed up that Ferris wheel all the way into the Gahanna swimming pool parking lot, and we drive on by. And one of Mom's signature moves was, as we drove by, she just barely, you could barely perceive it happening, but she just kind of tooted that horn. Tap, kind of like a Harry Truman winking at you. You're not, just real quick. But anyway, it was vintage Wanda, that she was right, she knew it, and this guy's trying to tell her she's in the wrong, and the illustration speaks for itself. So that would be it, the, stand your ground. Another one, signature Wanda theme, would be accountability. Accountability. Hold people accountable for their actions. Hold yourself accountable. That is, have a standard, and you may miss it, but at least aim for it. I've grown up into academic life, college professor stuff, PhD, and this sort of thing. And but school has been a priority during most of my years, but there were times where, let's just say, it was less so. And in one of those less so periods, I was in 5th grade. I came home with a report card, and we would come in. We had a large kitchen, large counter, long counter. And anyway, I remember coming home. I was the first kid home. It was grade card day. And I laid my grade card down on the counter. And I had 3 B's, as in boy. And Mom took a look at those and said, well, this is okay, but I think you're really capable of better. And I said, yeah, I probably am. I'll do better next time. Anyway, I headed out the door, and I was going down to Ranny's, my best friend, lived 3 doors away. Arlie Moffat lived next door, and Chuck and Annie Bay lived next door to her, and then Ranny's, Clark and Donna Ranny, and their son Brad was my best friend, ran around with him a lot. And I wanted to go down and check my muskrat traps in Sycamore Run, which was a creek right behind our house. Anyway, I was on my way down to Brad's, and I got next door to Arlie Moffat's driveway. I got about that far, and Mom comes rolling out of the front door. You get your butt back in here. And I did. I turned around, and even before I could get to the door, she had gotten me by the nape of the neck and was dragging me in. And I had a hint as to what this was about, and we get in there, and sure enough, she had noticed something I didn't think she would notice, but she did. And that is that those B's were in fact D's, as in doghouse. I had 3 D's on this grade card. And this was a new low for me. But Mrs. Stedman, my 5th grade teacher, she just wasn't quite where I needed her to be, if you know what I mean. So I got one of these erasers that could erase ink. Didn't do a great job, but I could feather it a little bit. And I turned those D's into B's. Simple enough. Split the difference. But anyway, Mom was thoroughly angry with me on this. And she proceeded to tell me in no uncertain terms. I mean, she's slicing and dicing and cutting away at me and not happy at all about this. And yelling at me. And I'm thinking, oh boy, I'm going to be stuck here for at least the rest of the day. Wait till your father gets home, this kind of stuff. And just when I think it can't get any worse, it gets worse. Betsy comes in with her grade card, and Betsy was in 1st grade, Mrs. Sager's class, down the hall from mine. And Betsy comes in with a grade card with all A's. All A's. And Betsy's giggling about how much fun school is, this sort of thing. Well, even then I suck up. But anyway, Mom it's fuel to the fire. It's bad news. And she's like, you aren't going anywhere, this stuff. Well, anyway, I didn't know what divine intervention was. I couldn't have defined it, but man, did I learn what it was in the next moment. I heard a step, somebody step on the stool that's, like a board outside our back door that came into our kitchen from our garage. And when somebody would come in that back door, they had to step on that step if it was a kid. And you could hear it. It'd go boom, and then the door would open. And that's what happened. And I'm thinking, well, it's probably not Sue. It's got to be Bill. And the reason I didn't think it was Sue is that Sue was about 11 then. And Mom had her on a diet and would be giving her carrots and celery and radishes. She always had them at home in the fridge for Sue. And Sue could nibble on those to hold her over her appetite till it was dinner time. But what Mom didn't know was that Sue would typically stop at Lemon's drugstore on the way home, and they had a grill and a little restaurant in the back. And Sue would like to stop by and get a cheeseburger and onion rings and a strawberry milkshake. Just to kind of take that edge off the appetite. Well, Mom didn't know about this, but I think everybody else in town did. But anyway, I knew it wouldn't be Sue. Sure enough, it was Bill. When he came in, that door opened. He did not look well. I studied the lines on his face, his furrowed brow, and I thought, what's going on here? Any chance of him being in that D range with me? Misery loves company. So Mom turns to him and goes, okay, Einstein, let's see your grade card. Bill goes, what? Mom goes, your grade card. So Bill gets out his grade card, kind of fumbling with it, lays it out on the countertop next to mine and Betsy's. Mom goes really loud. She yelled at me, but she screamed at him. She goes, you ass! And I'm thinking, whoa. She used to have some pills up on top of the refrigerator, covered up the refrigerator, that Mother's little helpers that would get her through the day sometime. She'd call them aspirin, but I think they were a little bit something with a little extra kick to them, take the edge off, speaking of that. And she was reaching up that way to get some of her pills. And I thought, wow, we are in new territory here. So I go over and look at his grades, and he's got 3 Fs. Fs. 3 of them. Fs. Well, Fs. I mean, this is a whole new, well, they're Fs. I mean, like, he's failed these courses. D's, at least you're passing. You're not doing well, but, you're passing. Well, he had Fs. my word, this is a whole nother animal now. F's. Well, D's, my dad would say, you're going to have to be a ditch digger or something like that. Well, F's, you're not even going to know how to pick up a shovel. I mean, why go to school? Why not just go fishing or something? So Bill's got F's. Well, at that moment, I went from being stupid, to being something of a gentleman scholar. I thought, well, here I am. I've got my passing marks. So I recused myself from the kitchen and headed back to the bedroom, put up the window and climbed out and headed off to check my muskrat traps. But as I was going back the hallway, I heard Bill say in his defense, at least they're high F's. High F's now. Well, Mom's like, you idiot! I mean, she's just reading him the riot act, something horrible. And I thought at that time, the real tragedy of that was that Bill could have, those F's could have been B's real easy. All you do is do that, take those horizontal lines of the F's, put semicircles on them, and those F's just goes right into B's. But even then, Reverend Bill, as he would later be known, he had ethical issues of transparency. But that was quite a low. But anyway, Mom held us accountable, and everything has to be judged within the context of the times that it happens in. So today, with our pseudonyms, we might say that Bill and I were students at risk, and that our psyche needed to be massaged and something like this. But again, this is the mid 1960s, and different approaches were used. And that's about the closest I can think of as far as a term we might use today would be tough love. Actually, real tough love. Emphasis on the tough rather than the love. But I suppose it worked. We turned out all right, at least so far. But something to think about, and something to celebrate.